The other day, Chris and I were actually talking not long ago about what's going on right now in the country, and Chris had some pretty interesting uh, bullet points, talking points, and then of course, him and I've been discussing this all over throughout the week and everything else, and it's actually been pretty cool. Some of the things we're discussing is what's actually going on and all the scary stuff that's about to happen. But today we had a Trump rally. Was it today or yesterday?
Well, my friend Tina sent it to me. Tina and Roy sent it to me a while ago. So I'm assuming it was today because they said the guy in the background, but of course it doesn't mean today. It
Right.
was Texas, and I listened to it prior to the show. It had a lot of typical talking points that Trump talks about.
So what do you have to say this time around?
Well, a lot of it we already know about how everything was scammed over and how
Hmm.
he got along with Putin. And a lot of people back when, they were trying to make it sound like, oh, you're Putin's lover and this and that. Listen,
Right.
it's better to be friends with your adversary than it is to be enemies with your adversary because then you don't know anything. I mean, I'm glad when Trump was in office because Trump and Putin got along great. And now with Biden being in office in just 2 years, he's destroyed everything. I mean, the only thing Biden is good at is destroying things.
Yeah, I think that's by design, though.
Well, even then, which I've always believed, I call him Biden because I believe, like Obama said, that if I could just sit somewhere in a basement of some place and be the spokesperson, speak, and the person speaks for me.
Or
And
no, he said like have a device in their ear.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm elaborating in my own words, but nevertheless, I believe that's exactly what's going on. And I don't see uh, they've destroyed the country. They've literally destroyed the country. We're at war. We have no business being over there at all. It's not our business. It's not our problem. Number one, we shouldn't be. They're making money, a percentage. The president of the United States is making money selling our resources to China. That's not his oil to sell.
That's right.
You know, he should be locked away permanently. Everybody in charge with this should be permanently locked away. I
Mhm.
mean, and I'm being polite so that they don't try to block what we feel.
Well, I
But
think actually, like, Trump, it seems to me like he's been hitting on a lot of the points that actually got us into the position that we're in right now. As a matter of fact, there was a lady who was asking a question. She asked, like, what are you going to do about our borders? And, Trump came by and he just, came out and he goes, listen, on my day one, those borders are going to be secure. But then he says, but what are we going to do with the 15 million people that we have let into the country already? That's a large number.
but tonight in his campaign, he said that, first of all, their country, particularly El Salvador, did not want the people back.
Hmm.
That gang members. He said, "This is what I told him to do." Now, this is old news, but this is what he iterated in his speech tonight. If it wasn't tonight, whenever it was recently, he said that, "How much money do we give them?" And it was like $750 million a year. And he said, "Starting at right now, you don't get any more money." And before morning time, they had 3 phone calls where they called him, asking, "There must be a misunderstanding. We'll take them back. Can we get our money?" So, America has this habit of giving countries our money. Uh, $750 million at that tune. Now now they're willing to take them back, eagerly take them back. Before they were blocking the runways, blocking the freeways, just wouldn't,
Well,
and they were doing everything to stop them from going back because our current administration didn't want them going back. It's like you wanted to plague our country with rapists. And I'm not saying you're a typical person from El Salvador or any other country down south or north or anywhere else. I'm talking about the bad people, the people that have a history of hurting people.
mhm.
and he's going to send them all back immediately. He's going to, if they're suspected or captured and suspected, they're going back. No and ifs, buts, or. But if you're here working and you're a productive citizen and you're on your way to become a citizen, by all means, our country is welcoming you. And I agree with that thoroughly. If you're here to make a living for your family, legitimate, and doing it the right way, you know, speaking for my country, for me, my arms are out welcoming you. But if you're
Right.
coming to this country to deal your drugs, sex trafficking, and things of that nature, you know,
Well, yeah, as you were just saying, it's kind of like one of those things that we, as you know, we're we're these other countries. It's like giving the money to the Ukraine. We're giving the money to Ukraine, and it may trying to make it like we're like this huge, powerful country, and yet we're losing. Like, Putin's going over to China. They're becoming a lot buddy buddy, and then you got Iran. Everybody wants to get into this mix, and everything that he's doing, he's changing everything. He's changing the way things were. So I don't know. I don't know how Trump is going to turn everything back the way it was.
1 hour and I'll have it changed back around. I don't know if it actually would take 1 hour, but he said that he would have it all changed back around. Uh, Now, when they first criticized Trump in office, he's not a politician. Well, that's a great thing. But if you
Mhm.
study economics, and I had 2 years of economics in college, and I'm not an expert whatsoever, but I do
Right.
understand economics. If you study economics, which Trump was an expert in that, that's what economy is. If you're making import and exports, nobody knows it better than Trump. I mean, I don't care who you are. It doesn't take a politician for that. The word politician to me means seasoned criminal. If you're in the office like Biden's been in office for how many decades, there's nothing good that he's ever did to our country at all that I know of, that I know of. And if we're being censored, not only by our government, and social media networks are censoring us, then we need to have laws protecting us because that's in our Constitution. We have the first and the second, and along with many other amendment rights, that's our God-given right, and they want to change our constitution. No, we're not changing it. We the people is not you, the government. It's we the people. And when it comes to be a tyrannical government, that's where we need to be able to have the right to social gather and stand up for our rights. And if you're like Zuckerberg, trying to block people and the FBI trying to block people, you need completely erased, eliminate them.
In a dark world, you would think that, you talked about it before. You talked about how aliens could be these people who are trying to take over our world and things like that. And sometimes it makes you scratch your head and wonder what, what is actually going on? How did we get this way? And why are we letting it get this way? As I always said, and I keep saying it, I don't mean to say it every time, but we allowed all this to happen, not just the United States, but the whole world.
Well, at least we're scratching our head, not rubbing our butt and was probed.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if we weren't probed. We're probed by our own government.
Well, that could be true. And I was just listening to Jeff Beck this morning actually, and he brought up some really scary things. And one of the things he brought up is this is all the stuff that we're talking about is leading up to that. Okay, it's leading up, and it's going to get really, really shaky. And I just want to get your feedback on this. So today we already know that our government listens to us in everything that we have, all of our phones, uh, Alexa, Google, all this stuff. Our computers are even listening to us. If a computer has a microphone, has a camera, it's going to be listening to you. And the just recently our government has, I think it was like gave up, like I think it was like 58 billion or 50 and 50 between 60 50 and 60 billion dollars, these organizations out there that are going to literally create uh a better system for scanning everybody, like AI, like voice. It'll know your voice, it'll know how you talk, and then any keyword, like, sometimes what you say, which I keep telling you, hey, you better not say that. You better not say that, because they're listening to us.
If your
And
bank account was on the background on a computer and we're doing our show, you could probably watch it go negative, 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 negative. But if you said something like, "Oh, I love Biden," positive,
right.
put money in there, and Hunter's amazing. Oh, it just went positive again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's kind of, it's scary to say the least. I mean, honestly, if they're listening to us and they're watching us, it's just like, all these things are going to be happening, and then it even gets worse. It even gets worse. And what they're talking about is they're talking about, like, TSA is going to be the first ones to roll this out. In order for you to fly anywhere in the world, they have to have a retina verification of your retina. That retina will literally, it'll tell them everything they need to know. Anything, anything. You cannot get past with the disguise or anything. If you have contacts in your eyes, it doesn't matter. It will be able to scan your retina. And the thing about that is what makes it scary for me. What it makes it scary is, I mean, think about, the end, where, the mark of the beast and stuff like that. They talk about this is where a lot of Christians are getting kind of like, well, that's the mark of the beast. Well, the retina scan is just the tip of the iceberg. The listening to us is the tip of the iceberg. And so, you got any thoughts about that?
Yeah, and it's kind of like the thing you sent me today about with Orwell, 1984.
Yeah.
Uh, it is. It's pretty scary, but we knew this was coming. We knew it would be up on us one of these days. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen now. I like to be positive about everything and think that we still have a chance to change things. And socialism only works by people agreeing with their agenda. If everybody would snap out of this and stop being programmed, because first of all, when you go to a news network, you have what's called a programmer, and you have an agency that pays to have your network programmed, and
Hmm.
it's a selling point. So whatever it takes, Orange Man bad. So everybody says Orange Man bad, and you hear it over and over and over. You believe Orange Man bad. If it would be the other way, Orange Man good, Orange Man good, then you have it programmed in your mind, Orange Man good. And it seems like today in our society that nobody likes to, and please forgive me, people, if you think I'm pointing at you, I'm not. There's a lot of people in our society that just seems like they can't think for themselves. If we're told that we have to take this because we're going to catch this, and then you take that and you still catch this, and if you look at common logic, the,
Right.
the flu, for example, vanished, but that virus dominated. And then when you see Fauci going door to door and this man is a seasoned criminal, the highest paid man in our government, and he's going door to door. Come to my door. We gotta live. Yeah, you're gonna leave here with an earful.
You saw that then. You saw that black
He was
guy out there.
I like that guy sitting there telling him off because they go by and they try to program you to. They're desperate to get you to take this vaccine. It doesn't work. That's my opinion, and I should have the right to my opinion. It doesn't work. I'm not taking it. I don't care who the who thinks they are. You're not going to make me take something I don't want. I seen somebody saying it's just because of Republicans. Listen, I've been a Democrat my entire life. And like what you said, Robert, I believe a lot like what you said. I don't believe it should be a side, a color, or anything. We don't need to stereotype this. It should be whoever's the best candidate. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, liberal, whatever. Whoever is the best candidate, it's not like a sports game like Chicago or Pittsburgh or Dallas Cowboys. This is, who is best for our country. And when you have somebody that's not doing anything for your country, and then you have people that I think are programming people listen to the Bible. They read the Bible. So let's make it sound like it came out of the Bible and we'll do this. It's kind of like, they're doing things on purpose. And then another question you had about the aliens. We know that there's a lot of Earth-like planets out there. It doesn't have to be like Earth for existence. I mean, look at the bottom of our ocean, and we're all carbon based except for a certain species, certain type of species that are silica based. Maybe there's other aliens from other planets that are silica based because they could travel quite rapidly and be able to live through it. If we traveled that speed as a human body, I don't think we could live through it. It would be like mashed potatoes in the bottom of the cage flying through space. So we don't understand technology that's that far advanced in front of us. But if they came to your planet and they wanted to take over your country, and they wanted your world, I don't think they're gonna destroy it with bombs. I think they're just gonna have us destroy our own self, and then they would take over. We just don't know. We could conspiracy all we want, but what we do know is what we see, and our country is the world for as far as that goes, is looking pretty bleak right now because of just a small percentage of people that are allowing this to happen.
Well, and listen. Okay, so you know, I don't know if I agree with that. It's not. I don't think it's the small. You keep saying a small amount of people. I don't think it's that small. I think it's like maybe 60, 40, maybe around that. And
That's tiny
it
compared to
is
the millions.
okay.
I'm talking about compared to the population of the Earth. The people that are trying to control the population of Earth is just a small percentage, like 1%.
Mm.
I don't know if it's 1%, but it's not that many people that are trying to control the entire Earth, you know?
Well, I do agree. I agree with that. I just don't think, with everything coming up, with the retina scanning, and then of course we know that they've been listening to us, and now they want to increase all this stuff. They want to, get more into it, and yet we're just it's like okay, let me ask you this. So you have always told me, you said, if it wasn't for your wife, that you would never have a cell phone. I think,
Just
in,
don't
in,
using a cell phone. I face to face, but I mean, you have to use cell phones. I mean, you got if your mom or dad live far away, family members. I mean, you have to have communication.
right, right. Well, I was stating because how long can people live without their phones? Today, I took Jody to work this morning. On the way to work, we're halfway there, and she says, "Oh my God, I forgot my phone." And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, I'm not going back.
What a blessing.
We're not going back halfway to go get your phone." So she was without her phone. Now, I can imagine, because this happened to me one time. I got all the way to work, all the way to work. I pulled up, I went to go get out of my car, and usually my phone's right in my pocket. No phone. I stood there for about, I don't know, maybe a minute, and just going back and forth. Do I need my phone? Do I need my phone? Do I need my phone? Got my car, went back home, got my phone, because my phone is important to what I do, my job, as you already know. And so, could I have done without my phone that day? Yes, I could have, but it's an addiction that you have. It's like you need it. It's like an extension of you. And I'm guilty of it. I needed that phone. I can't leave my home without my phone.
Do you need it or it's just a habit?
I think it's both. I think it's a both. I think it really, honest to God, it's both. I don't really need it all the time, but I take it because I never know what could happen. You
You know,
know,
I was in Seoul, Korea, and everybody there in the transportation areas, like the trains, airports, everybody dressed almost alike. Everybody would like walk uniform together, and they're all just they don't look around, they don't talk with each other. They're all just on their phone at the same time. And they're walking shoulder and shoulder so they could feel where they're going, I guess, but they were all on their phone. No matter if they got on the train, they were still on the phone looking at the screen. Not that we're not guilty of that ourselves. When I was in the Philippines, they were on top of coconut trees to get better reception on their phone on top of coconut trees.
That's insane.
When I was in Thailand, there was actually fewer people on the phones in Thailand. Uh, there's still a lot of people using the phone, but fewer people seem to be interested in the phones in Thailand. But speaking for our own country, it's like a part of your body. And now my oldest son, they don't like phones. They really don't ever use a phone. They'll get on there once in a while and they'll post something about their children, and I'm very proud of that they do that. There is a lot of things that we need to straighten out in our society, but in order to straighten out our society, we need to straighten out ourselves and understand what it is that we're trying to straighten out.
Hmm.
If we don't
Hmm.
stick together and fight this tooth and nail, that one percentage or whatever it is going to take over. And you could look at it as conspiracy or whatever, but what if they were actually an alien that was
Well,
doing
that's true. That's true. Well, see, that's what I said. I'm trying to back you up on this because it just things keep getting weirder and weirder as we go along. It's like
it
how in the
unhuman?
hell, huh?
It's unhuman what they're doing.
All right.
I mean, humans don't act like this. I don't know any humans that act like that do what they're trying to do. And why are they trying to push for, somebody said that if we have World War III, that it's estimated that 1 billion plus people will vanish from this earth. 1 billion, that's a huge population
That's a
gone,
lot. That's a lot of people to disappear.
but they want that. Why
Of
did
course. Well, here's the thing. They keep talking about world over being populated. At some point, it maybe in 100 years it could be a lot more. But they just did it. They just did a analysis of all the people. If you were to stick all the people here in the in the whole world in the United States, it would just be like Texas, Florida, and Wyoming would be the only states that could be that's shoulder to shoulder. That's it. Look at how much more is available for human life. The thing about it is what they're trying to do. Like Elon Musk, for instance, he's got some really good ideas. I was listening to him on Joe Rogan. I've got to send you that video. I know that you don't like to listen to him speak sometimes because he's I understand why. You just have to have patience.
us?
No, I didn't. I said you said sometimes the way he does speeches and
Oh,
stuff
it's just
like.
box, yeah. And I don't mind it like that. Don't take me wrong.
Okay.
It's genius. I enjoy listening to what he has to say because he's quite intuitive. He's a genius. I love listening to intelligent people like that.
Well, he's got this idea, and I think it's a real good idea. And one of the ideas is that we have a lot of people that are don't have a lot of income, and they are paying outrageous prices for apartments and all these other things.
And
He
food.
has what
And food. And food.
and food, yeah. And so his idea is to take and create these cities that are based on the size of your family. You could have a nice little home, and the cost of the home would be affordable, not outrageous. And these homes literally are already it's almost like a mobile home, but it's much better than a mobile home. Much better. Much better than a mobile home. And you live in style. It comes with everything, and everything is fixable. Uh, Tesla, who will own it, everything that they have is like warranted. And all you have to do is choose what kind of a layout you want. They come out there, they slap together like Legos, and that is your place where you're going to
They're
live. It's
expandable.
got what's that?
They're expandable.
Yeah. And the thing about it is I just think, wow, there's somebody who's trying to make something good. And you take, like he says, if I could take one corner of Kansas just a corner of Kansas, and he could put up solar panels that he says that he could light the whole United States with just that much power, and if he could have that corner. And I'm thinking, that's great. That's good energy savings. But did you hear right now? Did you just hear recently? I don't know the whole everything about it. Maybe you can check into it, or I can check in it for our next show. But he just created a new battery.
That's great and all, but I think that's old technology. If we would retrofit our dams, for example, for turbine power, hydrogen power,
Yeah.
and aerate it where you have hydrogen power, you'd have two sources in one.
Well, they
Because
already got a car. They already have a car right now that they're working on. That's going to
man
be
was assassinated that actually had the first hydrogen car for some odd reason, because there's people that make a lot of money in the petroleum area. And so somebody had the guy whacked out. Went across America on water in his vehicle, zero emission. We can make hydrogen generators because you got to look at it like this. The human body is 60% water. The earth, how much water is on the earth? Was it 80%?
yeah.
Relative similar, 60 to 80% of the human body and the earth. We have a lot in common. We both require water. We'd have zero emissions. There'd be no carbon fuel footprint whatsoever off of water. And what does come out of that is water, which would go back to the earth. There's no reason if we were smart about this and stop having these aristocrats that are trying to take over the world with what they're doing and let us have our own way with doing things. You don't have to have nuclear plants unless you're in an area like maybe, something that had no hydrogen power. Then maybe you would need the nuclear plants. Something that was in a earthquake zoned area that doesn't have very many earthquakes. Um, yeah, there's many ways that we can get around this on the carbon footprint to
Well, the
reduce.
question I have for you then is, okay, so you talk about hydrogen power. Now, I've been kind of looking into some of that and the benefits of it being, but one of the things that was a question that was brought up to Musk was that hydrogen power. And he said it this way, well, what's it take to create hydrogen?
You could get that from the Tesla, from the energy from the atmosphere, combined with hydrogen together, and that would create, I believe, a source that would be powerful enough to run cities.
No, no, no. I'm saying, what does it take to create hydrogen?
Water,
And
oxygen.
okay, but it just doesn't happen by itself
It doesn't, but you can get the energy to create that through the atmosphere.
through
Certain
the right, right, right. So
areas,
now you're on it.
certain areas would have like closer towards the polar patterns, North and South Pole, where you have the aurora, if I can pronounce it right, the aurora.
Aurora Bell. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You have more positive and energy ions to collect through collectors, the Tesla coil. And this is not my expertise, as you can tell anybody that listens to this, but I find it of complete interest. I built a light before where you can make it runs off of batteries. And just by having the copper coil over top of it and bring another magnet closer towards that, that produces power. There's so many ways. And somebody even told me before, you remember on the radio, we did a radio show back, I think it was 2011. And you asked me why I'm giving this potentially could be billions of dollars worth of an idea away. And I told you because I want to live through it to make a magnetic generator. And somebody, I had a friend, Mike Johnson, told me, "No, you can't make it. I've tried several times." Like, well, too bad. I've already made it. And on our show, I told everybody how to make it. And then 5 years later, you can look on YouTube and actually see the prototype of people making it. I'm not saying that they got the idea from me, but
Mm.
I gave out the idea on our show 5 years before that video was released on YouTube, where they actually had magnetic power generators running off of it, and it's a clutching system that works like a cam inside of a car. If you have one magnetic coil inside there with N52, 53 magnets on top of it coming in, the closer, the more power. It's just going to come to each other and stick. But if you had them in a different rotation around the axle, then they'll keep spinning and it won't stop. And you can make power like that, and it's really simple to make. Um, there's so many different ways that we can have electricity other than burning coal, digging things out of the ground and leaving a bad carbon footprint. And I'm not dogging that. Now, China right now is building coal plants every week. They're building coal plants. We're getting rid of our coal plants, but they're allowed to make all this wasteful uh, atmospheric pollution, and we're not. They're trying to refine us and not them. We need to look at this world fair. And
Well, I like the hydrogen idea. I really like that. I mean, cause I've seen multiple YouTube videos of these guys that actually have their car. Like this one dude, he had a mason jar, and he had these two electrodes in this mason jar. And so here's how it worked for him. Now, of course, he has to keep filling up the water, but water's cheap, right? So, well, not nowadays. We're paying $2, $3 a bottle of water, but
for rainwater could refill your generators.
yeah, well, he has like this big old mason jar, and he has these two electrodes that go in, and they create power in there, and it creates this
But
the bubbles.
you can
What's it?
create bubbles to the power from magnets creating the power, which is it'll never stop.
Well, the thing about it is this is where uh, uh, I know your method that you had talked about. Actually, I've seen it on YouTube. They do have problems with it. These scientists who have created it. I'm thinking about, you always have these really good ideas. I've had really good ideas, but by the time we think of them, either somebody has already done it, or it's like I keep telling you, every time you have this great idea, go get a patent for it, do something.
Dell technology, probably 2 decades ago, I seen this flexible screen on TV and said, "This is our future TV." I'm like, "You know what? If they take the fuselage and the entire aircraft or anything and coat that flexible screen
Where
to
do
make."
you think they got that from, that flexible screen? They just didn't get it because
Got it from me, but nobody's ever gonna give me credit for it. But it was so simple. If you have a camera facing up on the aircraft, the sky, and it's producing the vision below the aircraft, and then a camera facing to the ground with the screen on top. So no matter what side of that airplane you're on, the opposite side has a camera filming it. So you'd never see it fly over. It would be complete, even if you made a suit or a car out of the material, it would be virtually completely invisible.
right, right. Well, I've seen some pretty cool shit out there, Chris. I've seen some things that I know you don't have time. I mean, you're plucking chickens and picking up eggs all day long.
I milk
But
chick.
for but the thing that gets me with all this is that the technology that we're providing right now could be better. And what I mean by that is golly, think about everything that you just talked about. Somebody's already thought about this stuff. There are people out there who do nothing all day but think about this. We got physicists out there that are constantly thinking out ways to make the world a better place. But at the same token, think about it this way: if you have this idea, and somebody else is going to come up with the idea, or maybe they won't, maybe you do. The thing about it is look at Tesla. uh the guy Tesla, whatever his name, I can't remember his first name. uh what's his first name?
Mister.
Okay, let's just call him Mr. Tesla. He had the ability to transport signals, frequencies that would be able to light all the homes in the entire world just through air frequencies. Why aren't we doing that?
Quite simple, because they're not making money off of it. Well,
Hmm.
they could be making money off of it, they're not gonna make money off of the free air, you know? Now, it's all through trial and error too. I wanna talk about one of my projects that I made. I came up with this multi-million-dollar idea. I
There we
made
go again.
well, it was one that flopped out. Kinda reminded me of Steve Martin where he made the little band that went on your nose for your glasses, made it very cross-sighted. I made a snorkel, and it's like, "You know what? Why don't
Be
we make"
careful now. Wait.
I'm not talking about that snorkel. I'm
Okay.
first snorkel that I made, I'm like, you know what? Why just skim the surface of the water? Why not making a snorkel with an 8-foot tube on it? So I did. I put styrofoam on the top of it, put the hole in it, fixed the top of it, uh, put an 8-foot garden hose and duct taped it to my existing part of my snorkel. It's like, wow, now I can go 8 feet down. I jumped in off the boat dock. It almost sucked my tongue. I got a hickey on my tongue.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Well,
Even
it's
though it's a good idea,
trial and error. I mean, not everything's going to work, but it just needs refined. And that's why we have a short snorkel.
you know how you could have fixed that
How?
with check valve.
Well, the pressure when you go underneath below, just even a foot below, it would almost suck your tongue out of your mouth. I went down maybe 3 or 4 feet when I dove in, and it literally sucked my tongue out of my mouth. I mean, it clogged the tube. I had a big hickey right on my tongue.
Oh wow. Well, that's good. It's a good concept, but I did the same thing
You
when I
did?
was yeah, I did it. I didn't use the garden hose though. I used a my dad had some plastic tubing that he used for what we used for fuel lines. It was, pretty big fuel lines. And I did the same thing. I put it inside the snorkel and I didn't have that problem of it. But the problem that I did have was the coiling up of the tubing. It just seemed like it wanted to coil. And and then I did notice that there was a draw. There was this draw, like when you're breathing, yeah, like you just said, the atmosphere between the waters is a lot different. Now, later on in life, I wouldn't learn about this. I When I was a kid, I didn't know all this. There's different atmospheres throughout the water, and you can literally see the atmospheres. I think it's like you get down to 15 foot, if you are able to have good eyes and you get down, you can actually see the atmosphere change between the water. And of course, when you go down the water, the lower you get, the darker it gets and things like that.
But you have
Uh,
to yourself to the darkness. I love night diving. I love night snorkeling, and you could be in complete darkness. I mean, almost nearly complete darkness. Within 45 minutes, you could actually see the little minnows and sunfish and things darting by you.
Fluorescent, yeah.
Well,
Mm.
without the fluorescence, I'm just talking about your body will acclimate that to that. Do you remember that time I made the a self-powered flashlight, methane-powered flashlight for people that had gas really bad? That burnt the hair off back of my head back here. That wasn't a good idea either.
Oh my God, you are so not right. Anyway, but yeah, he burnt my marshmallow. Anyway,
But up on YouTube, he burnt my marshmallow. That was me and a friend of mine. We were on a Virgin Falls, Sparta, Tennessee, hiking 18 miles on a class 10 hike. And he was like, "Hey, Chris, you know farts are flammable?" I knew they were. I'm just messing with this kid. And he kept it up, and I kept it up too. So, no, it's an old wives' tale. Well,
oh, well, I'll
we're at,
tell you.
we're at the campsite, and I lit him up with a marshmallow, and it sounded like a jet engine taking off, and it burnt the side of my head again. YouTube, he burnt my marshmallow. That's me back in 2001.
Yeah, it's there too, believe me. Actually, it'll probably be on your website before long.
Good.
We'll find it and we'll get it on there and everything and see how that works for you. But the other thing is what's really speaking of something I know I've discussed with you before. Maybe some of the people would like to hear this. I had gastric sleeve surgery. And they told me during orientation that these are the things you can expect after you have surgery. And they didn't tell me it was going to be that bad. Definitely, if I could harness my gas, that would be awesome. I know I can hold it in for a long time, but when you hold it in, you get like bloaty. And then because I work in an office full of women, So it's not like I can lean sideways and let her rip, you know. So I hold it in. Then when I get out in the parking lot, from the time I hit the door, I just
Kind of
across.
movie, Escanabra by the Moonlight with Jeff Daniels.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen it, but where he was possessed by the aliens or whatever. And look it up on YouTube, Escanabra by the Moonlight, where he
Okay.
had the gas scene. That's you.
Yeah, that would probably be me. So yeah, I mean, everything that we can create nowadays, you think, okay, the best scientists on the earth are out there working, and they're trying to come up with all these ideas. But if you think about it, if they've come up with these ideas like hydrogen cars, I know that they're working on it right now. I've already, you know, as a matter of fact, Musk again, he's got his head all wrapped around it. Actually, he is uh trying to come up with a way that he can use the hydrogen motor to propel a spaceship to go to Mars and stuff, like to be able to. It's really weird how the concepts he has.
Hmm. That would be quite interesting.
Also, another deal is that you take a submarine. Today's submarines, they can stand underwater for up to 6 months,
Well, they don't need power for 30 years.
and they make their own. They can make their own. They make their own water. They make their own power with the steam. The steam that comes off it is rejuvenated to go to different. I it's mind numbing. Think about that. Think about that technology and taking that submarine and putting it up into outer space. You know, it's just like, you know,
Well,
uh,
it's zero gravity. I mean, come on. I mean, it could be done. There, if we actually had visitors that gave us their information, how they did this, and they shared their information. You know, I believe the simplest things in life are the best things in life.
mm,
You know, we don't have to refine uh, like petroleum. We could water, just simple water can power anything.
and it's reusable.
The most useful thing in your house is love. You know, if we had more of the simple things, our world would be better. It doesn't have to be so complicated and have to be sold on everything. You know, I think if every person had the time and the ability and the land, small piece of land, do it on your roof,
Mm.
make gardens, make your own heirloom seed gardens, uh, had just a healthier lifestyle, and we live healthy. Now, the earth overpopulating itself, that's not controlled by killing everybody. It's controlled by education. When people are educated, I believe, to understanding we're only allowed to do this. You can't go out. We're not like we were back in my parents when they were young, had, 11 brothers and sisters. We had to be resourceful, have smaller families, downsize your family, and have a simple life and grow your own foods. The world would be so much better and so
Yeah,
much.
but you know that's not. It,
It is possible. It is possible, but we have to have the willpower to do that.
well, it's possible. I didn't say it wasn't possible. I'm saying what it is.
When we have a system that controls us.
Well, yeah. I mean, we don't have control of over anything anymore.
What did Obama tell you?
Up on Monday, I'll have the information up on the website by tomorrow. I have an interview coming up. Then we're gonna interview is gonna be like Friday night, next Friday, and I'll fill you guys in on all the details. Hopefully, uh, next week, Chris and I can get together and we can discuss some other things. You got a guest coming up on late night, don't you?
Yeah, I do. He's a good friend of mine from decades, Phil Fry. And he was actually Daryl Singateri's bass player, among many others. In fact, if you and I can get down to Nashville in June, he gave us VIP seating for this.
Uh,
Yeah. And it's got some of the largest names in the country music industry.